Hey there, everyone. How's everyone doing today? I hope you're all having a splendid day. I'm back with 3 brand new stories to share with you all. The first one is quite a doozy, involving some entitled parents who had the nerve to ask original poster to buy them a car after they kicked him out of the house when he was just 16. Let's delve into these stories, shall we? And hey, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to drop a comment down below. So, picture this. I'm 15 years old, a complete mess. My grades are in the gutter. I'm carrying some extra pounds, and honestly, I'm just struggling to keep it together. 2 months shy of my 16th birthday, my parents dropped the bombshell that I'm going to live with my grandparents because, according to them, I'm nothing but a disappointment. Now, I've got a sister and a brother who are like the pride and joy of my parents' lives. Meanwhile, the black sheep, the odd one out. When I finally turned 16, my dad drives me to my grandparents' place in silence. No heartfelt conversation, just a simple goodbye before he drives off into the distance. Life at my grandparents' isn't exactly a walk in the park. I end up at a local school where they stick me with the least desirable subjects like drama. But despite the odds stacked against me, I stumble upon a passion for engineering after just one lesson. With limited resources, I resort to some less than ideal tactics to get my hands on an engineering textbook. Fast forward a few years, and I'm acing my general certificate of secondary educations with an A in engineering. I decide to pursue engineering, physics, and design technology for my O-levels. Instead of following the traditional university route, I opt for a 4-year apprenticeship at a major company with over 12,000 employees. After 6 years of grinding it out, I'm now pulling in a salary of around £170,000 annually. But here's the kicker. Out of the blue, my parents, who've been Mia for years, suddenly resurface, asking for money because their car broke down. Apparently, my dad, who works as an Uber driver, is in a tight spot financially. It's a situation that's left me feeling torn. On one hand, they're my parents, but on the other hand, their sudden reappearance feels a bit convenient, if you catch my drift. I'm stuck between wanting to help them out and feeling resentful for their absence all these years. It's a tricky situation, and I'm not quite sure how to navigate it. He's unable to work anymore, and they've approached me for £18,000. I probed about involving my siblings, but it turns out they're struggling financially too. While parting with that sum wouldn't dent my finances, I'm wrestling with the decision considering their decade-long absence from my life after they showed me the door at 16. I've opted to take some time to mull it over. Honestly, I'm in a quandary. It feels wrong to hand over a hefty sum to parents who once deemed me a failure and cast me aside, only to resurface when they're in need. I worry that giving in now will only open the floodgates for future requests, perpetuating a cycle of dependency. Instead, I find solace in my own accomplishments, achieved against the odds. Perhaps I should redirect the funds to my grandparents, who provided me with a stable sanctuary and unwavering support during the tumultuous teenage years. Update: after absorbing the sage advice offered here, I've reached a decision. I've chosen to finance their new car. Why? I'm envisioning a future where I want my own children to have some semblance of a relationship with their grandparents, even if it's through virtual means alone. Despite the physical and emotional distance between us, this gesture might serve as a bridge to renewed communication. While it's true that they overreacted when they ejected me from their lives, I'm not absolving myself of all responsibility. I could have applied myself more diligently in school to avert their disappointment. By funding their car, I see an opportunity for reconciliation and a chance to right past wrongs. I've already reached out to them to share my decision. They've provided their address, and I'll be meeting with them this evening to discuss the matter further. The decision was made. They settled on purchasing a used Toyota Prius hybrid from their neighbor, agreeing to part with £18,000 for it. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for the invaluable advice you all have provided me with. To be candid, I find myself at a loss regarding where to begin with the recent events that have unfolded. For the past 4 years of my undergraduate studies, I made the conscious choice not to reside at home, believing that I function more effectively when not in constant proximity to my family. Though I've long recognized the differences in our thinking and approaches to life, It wasn't until this morning that I fully comprehended the extent to which these disparities could breed conflict. With the impending commencement of my graduate studies, I decided to return home for the summer in a bid to save some money. However, what ensued was far from the harmonious family reunion I had hoped for. Throughout the entirety of the summer, I've been subjected to hurtful behavior from both my siblings and parents, primarily manifesting as exclusion and passive-aggressive actions. Despite there being minimal confrontations or conflicts, their behavior has been deeply distressing. On numerous occasions, I've overheard disparaging remarks about me being exchanged behind my back, and I've even caught glimpses of text messages between my sister and mother, where I'm the subject of cruel ridicule and criticism. Acknowledging that I was in the wrong, I admit to succumbing to curiosity and invading my father's privacy when he carelessly left his phone behind at our house. What I discovered upon scrolling through his and my mother's conversations left me utterly stunned. The bulk of their exchanges centered around their palpable disdain for me. They meticulously plan family gatherings and events, scheduling them at times when they know I'm unavailable, simply to avoid my presence. In their conversations, I'm not even referred to by name. Instead, I'm dehumanized, reduced to being labeled as the bee. My mother goes so far as to brand me as the most miserable bee she's ever encountered, bemoaning how I supposedly dampen the mood wherever I go. Moreover, there are instances where my father vents about my behavior to my mother, and they share a laugh over it, exchanging similar grievances about my siblings as well. Thus, while I sit in the same room as my entire family, they're preoccupied with exchanging messages about how unbearable they find me to be. I'm not particularly vocal about my political views, nor do I engage in political debates on social media. When my parents delve into political discussions, I choose to listen respectfully without offering opposition. Politics and religion are topics I tend to avoid as they often lead to unnecessary conflict. However, this doesn't mean my relationships outside of my immediate family are negative. On the contrary, I generally have positive interactions with others at work, school, and in social settings. My extended family relationships are also healthy and amicable. And just to clarify, no, I'm not adopted, although it seems some people have misconceptions about that. Now, onto the issue of mistreatment within my family and its possible connection to my sexuality. Here's some additional context that I believe is important to understand the situation fully. The tensions with my sister began after I came out to her, a crucial detail I regret not mentioning earlier. Let me provide some background. Last December, I was in a relationship with an incredible woman who had been openly queer since middle school. As our relationship deepened, I felt increasingly uncomfortable hiding it. So, I made the decision to start coming out, beginning with my sister. Despite her previous use of homophobic language and slurs, I trusted her with this revelation, hoping she might reconsider her stance. When I came out to her, she seemed taken aback, but her reaction was subdued. There was no further discussion about it, but I noticed a change in her demeanor. She became distant and somewhat awkward around me, which gradually escalated into more overt hostility. Over the course of several months, the dynamics within my family have shifted dramatically, evolving from mere resentment to outright bullying. While my parents have harbored resentful feelings towards me for years, my siblings, particularly my sister, used to be my allies, providing me with a sense of support. However, everything changed after I came out to my sister. The pivotal moment occurred in early July at our cousin's house, where I overheard a conversation between my sister and brother expressing their disdain for my partner. It dawned on me then that my sister had betrayed my trust by outing me not only to my brother but also to our cousin. Despite feeling betrayed, I never imagined she would disclose this information to our parents, knowing their stance on homosexuality. To my dismay, she did exactly that. In their subsequent text exchanges, my parents excused my sister's mistreatment of me, citing her disagreement with my lifestyle. This revelation has left me feeling disillusioned and deeply hurt. As a 25-year-old woman, I no longer wish to maintain a relationship with my 55-year-old mother, primarily due to the evident favoritism she displays towards my younger sister, who is 19. To provide some context, my mother always longed for a large family. I was her firstborn, and she hoped for more children after me. However, following numerous miscarriages and a stillbirth, they decided to leave it to fate. 5 years later, my mother unexpectedly became pregnant, viewing it as a miracle. From the moment my sister was born, my mother lavished her with affection and praise, labeling her as her miracle baby and God's gift. Throughout our upbringing, the disparity in treatment between my sister and me was palpable. While I was expected to do chores and contribute to household tasks from a young age, my sister was exempt from such responsibilities. Even now, my mother continues to clean my sister's room, a chore I was never spared from. Furthermore, while I was expected to find employment and save money for personal expenses, the same expectations were not placed on my sister. This pattern of favoritism persisted even as my sister reached adulthood, exacerbating the rift between us. My sister's pattern of behavior has been enabled by our mother's constant favoritism towards her. Despite her recurrent irresponsible actions, my sister has never faced significant consequences. For instance, she totaled a car just 3 months after receiving it, prompting our mother to buy her another one. Additionally, her employment history is marked by short-lived stints, yet our mother continues to provide her with financial support on a weekly basis. When I was 14, I struggled with health issues, particularly stomach complaints and weight loss. Instead of seeking appropriate medical care, my mother hastily concluded that I had an eating disorder and had me committed to a facility for teens with eating disorders. It took 2 weeks for the staff to realize their mistake and refer me to a gastroenterologist, where I was eventually diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Conversely, when my sister expressed similar concerns about her health, our mother reacted with unwavering empathy, vowing never to send her away for treatment. This disparity in treatment became even more apparent during conflicts between my sister and me. The most egregious incident occurred when she destroyed my favorite sweater and attempted to harm me with a pair of scissors. Instead of reprimanding her, my mother chastised me for upsetting her. Our mother's approach to conflict resolution further exacerbates the situation. She seldom acknowledges her mistakes and often deflects blame onto me, forcing me to apologize or endure prolonged periods of silence. Conversely, she readily seeks reconciliation with my sister, even allowing her to dictate house rules. Despite my resentment towards my sister, I recognize that she is not entirely to blame. I make efforts to maintain a positive relationship with her, spending quality time together, acknowledging her achievements, and showering her with gifts. However, the underlying issue of our mother's favoritism remains unresolved, perpetuating a toxic dynamic within our family. I left home at 18 to attend college and have been living independently ever since. My relationship with my mom has been distant but cordial, given our infrequent interactions. Recently, she criticized me for not spending enough time with my sister. In an effort to mend things, I invited my sister over for a girls' night. However, she arrived with 2 friends, ignored me, and spent the evening getting intoxicated. The next day, I drove her home and expressed my frustration to my mom, explaining that I wouldn't continue trying if my sister didn't reciprocate. My mom's response was to accuse me of always making my sister feel inadequate due to my accomplishments. I countered, stating that my achievements were driven by a need for my mom's approval, which my sister seemingly received effortlessly. This led to a heated argument, with my mom labeling me as selfish. Now, my dad is pressuring me to apologize, but I'm hesitant. While I harbor resentment towards my sister, I understand it's not entirely her fault. Despite this, I can't continue this cycle with my mom. I refuse to apologize for my feelings and be made to feel like an outcast in my own family. Is it wrong for me to cut ties with my mom? I don't believe so. It's essential to prioritize my well-being. In some ways, my mom's actions might have inadvertently pushed me towards independence. Though it's disappointing that my dad hasn't intervened, I must focus on building my own support system.